At least I still have my balls. The courtroom was quiet, every breath held in suspense when I muttered the phrase that had come to define this entire saga. But at least I still have my balls, Your Honor. I heard the hiss from my lawyer before I saw the glare. He looked like he wanted to throw his $1,000 briefcase at me. Can't say I blamed him. He'd warned me repeatedly not to say that again. Public sympathy, he said, is fragile. It can vanish in a second. Don't push it. Smash that like button, hit subscribe, and keep watching, because the best part's coming up next. But what he didn't know, what I did, sitting handcuffed in the dock, was that the judge's eyes had flickered with something the first time I said it. Humor, agreement, maybe even relief. He hadn't liked the so-called victim either. My lawyer, Mr. Perkins, high-priced, high-strung, and painfully polished, stood and asked for yet another word with his incorrigible client. "I doubt it'll do much good," the judge replied, half smiling now. "Your last three didn't." Mr. Perkins leaned in and whispered, "Look, I don't like the guy either, all right? He's a smug, arrogant prick. But you don't need to win this court over with flair. You need them to believe you lost control. Not that you meant to make headlines. He was only there thanks to my best friend Dave, who wasn't rich but was loyal. Dave had organized a GoFundMe for my legal defense. It exploded. Turns out a lot of people hated the man I'd assaulted. Mark Lavalier, a local celebrity and self-styled Casanova with a nasty habit of ruining marriages, mine included. When Lavalier tried to set up his own fundraising campaign, it backfired spectacularly. His arrogance only made things worse. Turns out, being a serial homewrecker doesn't earn you much pity. My inbox was flooded with messages from strangers thanking me for doing what so many of them had only dreamed of. My fan mail grew daily. I didn't ask for any of this, but I'll admit, I didn't mind it. The judge, now more amused than angry, tried to bring decorum back to the proceedings. "Mr. Freeland," he said, "your representative is correct. You're showing your victim far too little respect." I nodded solemnly, but couldn't help myself. "I apologize, Your Honor. I didn't mean to be disrespectful. I was just stating a fact. I still have mine. He doesn't. Unless, of course, he keeps them in a jar somewhere." That one went too far. I saw it in the judge's eyes. But then, just as quickly, they softened again. I shut my mouth. Probably the smartest thing I'd done all day. The judge continued, reciting legal jargon about my guilty plea to assault occasioning actual bodily harm. Maximum sentence, 8 years. "But," he said, "my lawyer's argument of temporary insanity had merit, at least enough to raise reasonable doubt." He asked me to retell my story. My throat tightened, but I began. I looked out at the gallery. She was there. Linda, my wife, or more accurately, my soon-to-be ex-wife. She looked down as soon as our eyes met. She hadn't attended the last hearing, probably hoping to avoid the shame. Today, that hope was shattered. The media were watching. The public was watching. Everyone knew. "We were at a bar," I said. "A nice evening. Drinks, friends, laughter." Then he showed up. Mark Lavalier. He walked up to Linda, ignored me, and asked her to dance. Didn't even look at me. That's not how things are done, Your Honor. There's a kind of unspoken respect between men. He violated it the second he stepped onto that floor with her. I paused. My fists were clenched. I forced them to relax. She danced with him. Twice, maybe 3 times. I didn't make a fuss. I trusted her. But later that night, she vanished. I swallowed hard. The betrayal still felt fresh. raw. I went looking. Friends told me where Lavalier lived. I didn't have to break in. The garage door was open, the inner door unlocked. His flashy car was right there. They must have been in a hurry. Or maybe they just didn't care. I glanced down at the floor, then back up at the judge. I remember walking through the house, rage building in me like a storm. I heard noises, upstairs, a bedroom, then nothing, just flashes. The next clear memory I have is of police lights outside. That was the version Mr. Perkins had coached me on. The real version, what I actually remembered, was burned into my skull. I remembered everything. I remembered walking into that bedroom and seeing my wife on all fours, naked, moaning for another man like I never heard her moan for me. I remembered his smug face. I remembered something breaking inside me. And I remembered the kick. One clean, perfect kick. Just like when I used to take conversions on the rugby field. A well-placed boot with everything I had behind it. His reaction was instant. He buckled, made a sound that didn't sound human, and collapsed. My wife screamed when her head hit the headboard. The image of his face, eyes wide with disbelief and pain, his body curling in on itself like a crushed can, stayed with me. It was, in some primal way, satisfying. Not noble, not right, but deeply, brutally satisfying. Like what you see? Click like, hit subscribe, and stay tuned. Let's keep going. The judge acknowledged all the legal arguments, the botched police interrogation, my state of mind, the character witnesses, the lack of visible premeditation. He also noted the public pressure. The courtroom was packed with people wearing sympathetic expressions. There wasn't a soul there for Lavalier, except his lawyer. In light of everything, the judge said, and given the unique emotional circumstances, I hereby sentence Mr. Freeland to time served, with 3 years probation. I blinked. What? I whispered. My lawyer clapped me on the back, smirking for the first time in weeks. You're a free man. As I was processed out, the bailiff leaned down and whispered with a wink, Man, I'm just glad you still got your balls. We exited through the back to avoid the media frenzy. But as I rounded the courthouse, I saw a pack of reporters gathered on the front steps. Lavalier was holding a press conference. I couldn't help myself. I walked past slowly. The cameras turned to me one by one until I was standing directly in front of the man whose life I'd upended. He faltered mid-sentence and took a step back, then another, tripping and falling onto the concrete. The media loved it. I leaned down, smiled, and said, Good luck with the appeal, Mark, win or lose. I'll still have my balls. That line made every headline the next day. I became the people's anti-hero. Donations to my fund surged again, but there was no appeal, no lawsuit. A few weeks later, I got my answer. A man twice my size approached me in a bar. Quiet, calm. He didn't want trouble. Just to say that he and some other men Lavalier had also humiliated, had paid him a visit. After that, the civil suit was dropped. I didn't ask questions, just nodded and bought him a drink he never accepted. Lavalier's life spiraled. No team would touch him. His voice grew higher, his body weaker. He tried to use supplements, got caught, got banned. Then he disappeared. Just a cautionary tale whispered by commentators when discussing toxic fame. As for Linda, her friends abandoned her. She drank. The night she passed out drunk and drove through her garage door, our kids called me terrified. That was all the evidence I needed. My lawyer got my parents' legal guardianship, and I moved in with them. The kids thrived. Linda? Not so much. She moved away eventually. Sends birthday cards now. The kids don't read them. And me? I didn't bask in the attention like some might. I kept my head down, took work where I could find it. Lived simply. Then, one day, I met a woman. A refugee from Ukraine, raising her nieces and children alone. Strong, gentle, real. She didn't care about my fame. She cared about me. And sometimes, in the quiet after the lights go out, she pulls me close, kisses my neck, and whispers with a mischievous smile, "I'm glad you still have your balls, Jim." And so am I. You know, this story hits different. It's not just about revenge or betrayal. It's about how raw human emotions can push us past the edge. You feel the heartbreak, the humiliation, and yeah, maybe even a guilty sense of satisfaction when justice, however messy, gets served. It's not a fairy tale ending. No heroes, no saints. Just real people, real pain, and one man who lost everything, except his dignity, and of course, his balls. Whether you think he was justified or not, it's one hell of a ride. If you enjoyed this story or it made you feel anything, hit that like button, subscribe for more, and don't be shy. Share your thoughts in the comments.